Do you know what make you happy? Not what makes your family happy, not what make your friends happy. What make you happy as a man?
Honestly, man, what makes me happy, like truly makes me happy on a day-to-day basis, is my kids. My wife, when she sees this, she might feel a little slighted, but she knows my heart. And she does her best to make sure that I'm happy. But I tell her often that it's not really your job. I get that you could do things that make me feel good, but the happiness that I get from my children is something that it's hard to even put into words, because it's not something that they're even aware that they're doing. It's not something that they try to calculate in their head, or I'm gonna do this for dad because I know he like it, or I'm gonna do, which is, what, an adult woman, she knows what you like. She knows that you like this to eat, or, you like your clothes folded this type of way. They do produce those things within us that make us happy, to make us look and see when we come in and see the food that we like. And it's like, that's what I was thinking I wanted to eat today. And you knew it, good job. But if I were to, wake up tomorrow and my wife didn't want me, I could get past it. I could still find a way to be happy. All right.
Okay.
But if I woke up tomorrow and my kids told me, Dad, I'm good. I don't want you to be my dad no more, it would be hard to see myself being happy from that day forward.
What's good? It's your boy Trey the Realist, and it's episode number 14 of If You Don't Mind Me Asking. I got my boy Arian here, all the way from the Lou/Mississippi. I met him last month at my boy Ryan engagement party, and we had some real good conversations. So I really wanted to get him on this platform so we can kind of delve into some of the conversations that we had that day. So real quick, can you just let me know who you are?
My name is Arian. Like he says, I'm, a little mixture of country life in Mississippi, as well as the city life in St. Louis that has made me who I am today. And yeah, pretty much anything else you would like to find out about me, hopefully we can uncover that through this podcast.
Nice. So real quick, I want to start off. Why do you think St. Louis got the best Chinese food?
Well, I've been to a lot of places, Trav, and I've had a lot of Chinese food from a lot of different places. Now, I jokingly say that the best Chinese food is found in St. Louis and not China. I can't verify that because I haven't been to China, but I will tell you the best Chinese food in America can be found in St. Louis, Missouri. And I say that because I've taste tested a lot of Chinese food from around America. And there's a taste that I've only had and or found in St. Louis.
So have you been to Philadelphia?
I've been to Philadelphia. I can't say I've eaten a lot of food in Philadelphia, but I can't honestly say I remember eating Chinese food in Philadelphia.
You've been to New York?
Been to New York.
Okay.
I've had Chinese food in New York. I can't even recall it, the taste of it. So I can't say it was memorable.
My last question, do you go to New Jersey and have the Chinese food?
I have not. I've been to Newark, but I don't think I ate Chinese food while I was there.
Okay, so my assessment.
Yeah, I'm ready for this. Let me hear this, man.
So I'm from New Jersey, but I think Philadelphia got the best Chinese food. More so the lo mein and the wings.
Okay.
And I think Jersey's next, but I do say St. Louis. St. Louis is known for its rice.
For sure.
So I can say that their rice is exceptional, but what else is good about the Chinamen over there?
The Chinamen. I love them.
Yeah, that was y'all call it.
Yeah, that is what we call it.
Yeah.
I guess that's what it is, Trav. I would say that distinct taste that has always stuck with me since I was a kid and I had my first taste of St. Louis Chinese food. And from there, moving forward, now being a 32-year-old man and the Chinese food that I've tasted over the time, that distinct taste. I've had Chinese food from different places that tasted the same, but I've never had Chinese food from somewhere else in America that tasted like St. Louis Chinese food.
Okay.
And so I would say that's what sets it apart for my taste buds.
So I know you say you originally was born in Mississippi, but when did you move or relocate to St. Louis? How long was you out there for?
I moved to St. Louis when I was 8 years old. So I moved the summer before my 4th grade year. I left my 8th grade year, the end of my 8th grade year. I always bounced around a lot. So just due to, different circumstances with parents and such. But yeah, I moved there basically the end of third grade, beginning of fourth grade, moved to St. Louis, and it was a complete culture shock for me. It's completely different.
So you say you're from Mississippi, right?
Yep, born in Mississippi, Greenwood, Mississippi.
Okay. Do you know Macomb, Mississippi?
Yes.
All right. So two of my homeboys, Julio, my boy Tehran, we play football together with Ryan and Miles and all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And they were some interesting people, man. When
Yeah.
I say like, I feel like people from Mississippi had a certain type of swag to them.
I could agree.
And I do say they used to get a lot of ladies, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So how was that adjustment going from down south to the Midwest to you? Like, what can you explain that culture shock?
Well, so the part of Mississippi that I was born in, it was which is, most of Mississippi, if I'm being honest. But I was born in the Delta, which I'm not sure about now, but at least for a long time, Mississippi was the poorest state, and the Delta was the poorest part of Mississippi. And so just super under-resourced, underfunded, if you will. I spent a lot of time on dirt roads, and a trip to Walmart was a really big thing to me. You know what I mean? Just to give you an example. Being in school Monday through Friday, getting on the bus, going over into town, as we say in Mississippi. We'll go into town, go to school, and I would come back to that dirt road, and I wouldn't really have any interaction with people outside of my family, that's on that dirt road until I went back to school, which is what made those trips to Walmart or the dollar store.
So how big was your class? Do you remember how big your class
Graduating
was?
class?
Yeah.
72 people.
Dang.
Yeah. What about you?
Mine wasn't that big. It was like 300 kids, but like that was like very small to like the other areas because I was like in an all black school, which was like the only black school in my neighborhood. Like the rest of them was all like prep schools or like white based schools. So they had like the thousands of kids graduating. But from my school, it was always kind of preached to us in sports, like, hey, like keep it ingrown because I don't know. We know Carl Lewis and Sean Phillips. Carl Lewis is a track runner.
Yeah, for sure.
Sean Phillips played for the Chargers. Like they were like great athletes, and they were just like, there's a lot of great athletes from this area. So like try to keep it ingrown because a lot of times these white schools will try to come down and try to pluck these kids out, take them to prep schools, different things like that. But coming from a area like that, you got to grow up very fast.
Yeah, I did. I did have to grow up very fast, and having a young mother, and she tried. She did her best, but she was young when she had me, 17 years old, and she moved to St. Louis first and left me with my grandmother. And she tried to go up there and establish herself. And as I got older, I realized that she wasn't established at all, but she wanted her baby. And so once I got up there, I was raised by a lot of outside influences, and I don't know if I would call it lucky or blessed or whatever it is, but I never really got too attracted to the wrong crowds.
St. Louis is pretty dangerous too.
I know, right? And thinking back, as a kid, the Bloods and Crips and the gangs and all that, it was appealing, and it did give you a sense of belonging and all of that stuff, especially, growing up without a father. I can count the number of times I've seen my dad. And at the age of 12, my dad called me on my 12th birthday and told me, you grown now. We ain't got to go through your mama to talk. If you want to holler at me, holler at me. You know what I mean? And so, like I said, all those outside influences in St. Louis, some of them were definitely appealing. But one of the greatest things I think I was gifted with was discernment. And even when I didn't know I was making the right decision, I was making it. And I didn't, I didn't know why. So when I look back and I think about those pivotal points in my life where I made the right choice. I can't give you a rhyme or reason as to why I made the choice that I did, but I did, And so as I got older, it became more apparent to me that I had something different about me than a lot of people that I was around. And especially when I think back to a lot of the friends that I went to school with and was growing up with in St. Louis, as I'm sure Amon and Ryan could tell you, dead or in jail. They just didn't make it for whatever reason. And we did, and I think much like those guys. We had a certain thing about us. We may have had different.
My bad, real quick. What age did you meet Ryan and Amon?
Fourth grade.
Fourth
So
grade, wow.
about 9 years old. Yeah, I met. So Amon's dad ran the youth football program, the Spanish Lake Titans, which was, I mean, super important to my kickstart of, being a leader and not just following somebody because they say, hey, follow me. And that program, the Spanish Lake Titans, was a kickstart to that. And so that's how I met Ryan and didn't even know I met him until about 3 years ago. It was kind of a Spider-Man moment where it's like, and but yeah, me and Amon, we reconnected. Do you know Landers?
No, I probably seen him, but I see a lot of y'all friends come through this area, so I probably seen it, but I don't know the names.
But it was the same thing. Me and Landers, we all kind of met in fourth grade, and we were all in the same orbit, so to speak. But yeah, me and Amon, we went to school. We actually met each other on the football field, but didn't go to school together until fifth grade. Whereas me and Landers, we actually met in fourth grade, and we were in the same class. Yeah, that's how we kind of just kind of stayed around each other through sports, through youth sports within the city. And so that's how I met those guys. And once I left in eighth grade, all of my friends and everything in St. Louis, it just ceased to exist, that friendship, because I didn't have like a cell phone or like social media or anything. So once I became of age, pretty much maybe the senior year of high school, freshman year of college, going through Facebook and kind of finding people, Amon and Landers and such, and even other friends from St. Louis, and making that friendship connection online, and then getting older and being like, hey, where you at now? Or how's everything going? And it just so happened a couple years back when I moved to Dallas, this is my third time living in Dallas. And moving to Dallas, and I saw Amon was in Dallas. So I sent him a message, hey man, I see you here. And it took maybe a few months before we reconnected, because he had, a family, and I did too. And you never know if people are the same. Nobody's going to be the same from freaking 7th, 8th grade or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so both of us were cautious about bringing one another around the family. But man, I tell you, when we laid eyes on each other again, as grown men, it was just like, oh my God, like, no, this connection is still the same, And so we've just, once we reconnected, we just started to grow that relationship again, man.
What I can say about St. Louis people and Amon and Ryan is, we played college football together, and
Nice.
we was cool, but we wasn't like boys like that. We kind of ran with two separate crowds, but we was cordial.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw they was out here, I was kind of hesitant, reconnected with them as well, but it was nothing but love. And I was just like, damn, like y'all are solid people. And one thing I can say about St. Louis people, like all his friends that come out here and visit them every now and then, they all are cool as hell. Like a quick joke, my sister be saying like, yo, you don't like nobody, Traven. I'm like, no, I don't like people you like. You know what I'm saying? But when I'm around the right people, I come alive. And I love like, Ryan and my friends, because they all solid. Like I met you through Ryan. And I'm like, yo, like this is a cool dude.
Yeah.
So going off of that, growing up in St. Louis, culture shock real young. We was talking before here. I was asking you like, hey, is there like an age you will let your kids date? You was like, you got to cross that bridge when you get there.
Yeah.
And you said it's because you grew up young in that field yourself. You said you lost your virginity at 12. How did that change you? And how old was the person you lost it to? Was older? How much older, or was it younger than you, the same age?
We were the same age.
Oh.
And she was under the assumption that I was already having sex, When she was, but I wasn't. Mm-hmm. And it had a lot to do with, so that didn't happen until I must have came back for maybe a summer or something from St. Louis. And because of that, I guess, worldly knowledge I had gained from being in a bigger city and coming back to Mississippi, it seems as if I know something that nobody else knows around here. But, and which I probably did, but it wasn't about sex. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so she really wanted to give herself to me, and she did. And she ended up having to coach me through it. But initially starting out, she's thinking that I know what I'm doing, but I didn't. And so
was you scared?
I wasn't so much scared, probably nervous.
Yeah.
But I wanted it. You know what I mean? I wasn't scared of it, but I was just nervous of not knowing okay, how do I do this, But after that, it kind of opened it up for me. And I realized, whatever the thing is, I used to, and I think a lot of young men go through this. When I was younger, I would kind of pride myself on women wanting to give themselves to me. But as you get older, you kind of realize the woman or the women that you're sleeping around with, they're not the hoe. You are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so and that just came from growing and getting older. But yeah, so as that relates to when I would let my kids date, like I said, I would have to cross it when I got to it. Obviously, if my daughter comes to me at 10 years old talking about boys, I don't want to scare her into thinking that she can't talk to me about boys, And this is all speculation because she's only 4 years old right now. It's all speculation, but I would like to think that I would be the type of dad that will keep that door open and not, oh, you thinking about boys and you need to be worried about this and that. Because now it's not like she's gonna be 4 or 10 forever, all right? And when she does become of the age where we all kind of go through, whether it's puberty or you hit that spot in life or in school where people are doing certain things, and people are showing you certain things that are outside the control of your parents. It might be your friends or whatever. You might go over to your friend's house and see this or see that. And I just want to be able to keep that door open. So, I don't want to sit up here and say that, oh, this is how I will handle this with my daughter and this is how I'm going to handle it with my son, because I don't feel like that's realistic. You kind of got to see how it goes.
So when they hit the age of 12, do you feel like you're going to talk to them or are you going to wait for them to come to you about it first?
I think parents who pay attention will be able to see the signs and be like, okay, this is where I maybe need to step in or say something. Or it might even be in passing to where, like my wife would tell me, when she had her first time, she said she didn't tell her mom. She just knew, She acted different when you come in the house.
Walking different.
Right, you walk a little, no, for real, you walk a little different. You got your, I don't know, I think it's a Southern thing, but they say you smelling yourself.
ATL, like the little brother talking about, I got some cutty last night. He had a whole different demeanor about him the next day. He was all lacking confidence one day, and now he coming in like, give me the big box of cereal.
Yeah, exactly.
So I feel that. So I was kind of different. Like when you say discernment, I had a lot of discernment too as a young kid. And I was scared. I can say I was scared of messing with girls, but I was scared of becoming a statistic, if that makes sense, because I knew I was good at sports. I knew I was going to be out there. So I didn't want to have a baby young. I didn't want to catch anything and be somebody who was just stuck in the neighborhood. I would just see people who were just old heads that just never left.
Right.
Just still stay in the same neighborhood. So I always knew I wanted to go out. So I didn't lose mine until about 19. But I will say in middle school, there was a lot of shit happening. Like I feel like, it was, I think people was more freakier back then than nowadays. Nowadays, people were a little more calm and tame now. But like back in like middle school to like 9th or 10th grade, I seen and heard a lot of things, So it was definitely interesting. So I don't know how I would react with my kids, but I kind of wish my dad would have talked to me more. Like, quick funny sidebar. Like,
what you got?
When I was like 13, I was like 13 to like 14, I wanted people to think I was having sex. So I would like buy like condoms and shit like that.
Right.
And I end up like selling them to my homeboys. And to this day, people be like, yo, remember you used to sell me condoms? I'm like, nah.
Wrong guy.
don't bring that up. But I mean, it was true though. Like, but I did it because I wanted people to think I was doing it, even though I wasn't doing it. But there's definitely, I think a shift happens when you hit to middle school. I don't know about elementary school. I wasn't really thinking about none of that. But when middle school happens, a lot of curiosities are coming into play. So I think that's when you need to start. I would just say just asking, like you said, just understanding your kids, seeing the signs, and then I guess asking during that time. But I wish my parents kind of would have talked to me more like, hey, like, what are you going through? Like, do you even know what sex is? Kind of thing. Right. Everybody think, oh, I'm taking sex ed. I know what sex is. But like, like you don't know shit about nothing, So it's definitely interesting going off of that. But not to go too much deeper into your family, but we was at Ryan crib, and the conversation came up where I was just like, my dad told me, like, the only reason I stayed with your mom was because of you guys, and I feel like, and sometimes I feel like my mom had kids to keep my dad around.
Yes.
And there's plenty of stories I hear now as an adult where I'm just like, oh, my mom was just like really in love with my dad. And as I get older, I don't know how it affects me because like when my dad talks so honestly to me about how he felt back in the day, like he still loved my mom, he
Right,
still
right.
loved what she did, but he was just like, I would have had stuck around really.
Yep.
So I know you married. How long you been married for?
5 years.
For 5 years. So throughout that 5 years, I know you go in and out of love. So
Yeah.
what really keeps it together?
I think it's not just one thing that keeps it together, but I think you have to have two people who are willing. And I'll share something with you that my uncle told me. And you just made it spring into my mind when you said in and out of love. My uncle said, that's natural. Both of you guys are going to go in and out of love, but you just better hope y'all don't fall out of love at the same time. And I think to keep it together, when one is not so much in love with the other, the person that's still in love has to be willing to keep fighting. Because if they just say, oh, I don't feel like you feel the same way about me anymore, so I'm gonna make myself feel how I think you feel right now. That's just it's gonna deteriorate. The relationship over time will deteriorate if neither person is willing to fight for the other one.
Do you think women love harder than men?
Absolutely not. I think that, and the reason I say that, obviously, it's only from a male's perspective coming from me, because I'm a male. The reason I say that is because when we choose a woman, one woman, we know that, oh, that's a big one, Trav.
Because the generation before us, as I get older, no offense, none of the men was really good men. Like
Right.
It wasn't really like, besides just the appearance, besides the perception of what a man was, they didn't really in real life live up to it. But I felt like the woman, at least in my family tree, loved the men so much they just looked past all of that. And not saying that they were perfect, but
Right.
I feel like what they brought to the table was way more than what a man brought. And it's almost to me, like when I talk to my dad, my mom paid all the bills. He paid like the utilities, but she paid the mortgage and everything. She fed us. She took care of us. She worked four out of 7 nights as a nurse working 12-hour shifts. But my dad was just like, but yeah, she didn't clean enough. and like that one thing, like that's really bothered him because he was like, my mom cleaned and fed us, but I'm like, but your mom also didn't work like like my mother did. She wasn't take care of all the bills. Like your father was coming back giving her the check to come pay the bills. So I'm like, it's like a false equivalence where sometimes I feel like us men, we try to find our mother and our women in a way where it was just like, whether it's your mom, your grandma, whoever was that pivotal woman, you want them to mimic that. But to me, I feel like in this day and age, women are bringing so much. It's almost just like, is it a false equivalence? I don't know. It's always fascinating me.
I think because in this day and age, women are able, or for lack of a better term, allowed, I guess, just, where we are in society, they're allowed to bring a lot more. And I think that can have adverse effects on the way the man thinks about the woman, but also the way the woman thinks about the man. And what I mean by that is women can be successful in different areas that they weren't able to be successful in before, and that makes them think, I don't need a man.
But they still want to. I mean, I be seeing these boss ladies out there, but behind
they
closed
still,
doors,
they want
to be held. They want
sure.
they want that man figure around. But to me, it's almost like when I see men with a good woman, it's almost just like, all right, yeah, but what else?
Right.
What's more? Where it was just like, for me, I think a lot of times a woman will take a bummy dude if she really love him, but I don't think a man will really wife a bummy chick.
I could agree with that. Yeah, I think, that's probably spot on, Trav. I don't think a guy, especially if he's well-to-do, he's gonna go for the woman he wants. And he's, very seldom, like you say, where you see a guy or encounter a friend or whatever, a brother that you feel like you settled a little bit, man. You know, 'cause 9 times out of 10, you can be like, yeah, bro, that's hey, you got it. You know what I mean? But on the flip side of that, you will see a woman, especially if they get to a point, certain women, right, when they have checked off certain boxes for their life, and kind of the only one that's missing is a man, they'll bring down that standard. You know what I mean? So I agree with you on that.
So I'm single in Dallas, all right? So I'm out here dating, and I feel like I be doing the bare minimum. Like I go
What you
on
mean by
date,
that now, bare
like
minimum?
I go on dates here and there. Say if I cook a meal and I have extra, I might be like, hey, you want to get a plate? To me, that's kind of just me being just nice,
Right.
you know. So for me, it's like I'm not going the extra mile, taking them to like a 5-star restaurant. You know, I just have good conversation. A lot of girls I talk to be like, yo, you know how many men just start off with just their money, just to start off with sex, and they were like, you actually like talk, you actually treat me like a person. I'm just like, yo, I treat you like I treat my homegirls.
Right.
I'll do the same thing to my homegirls. So for me, it's like they put me on this pedestal where I'm just like, yo, I'm like, if this is where the bar is at, I'm like, the bar is in hell. And my sister be telling me all the time, she be like, you don't know, like a lot of dudes don't take girls out on dates. A lot of guys want them to come to their crib, and I'm just like, I think sometimes what I would like to be treated as if I was a girl. And for me, it's just like, I don't know, I'm just nice to them. And
Right.
the nice guy routine ain't work in high school.
Right.
It didn't really work in college. But now that I'm 32, it's like these girls
For
are want
sure.
somebody that, you know, is secure and just treat them right. Cause they probably just went through that whole phase or whatever. But for me, it's just like I be getting uncomfortable because like a lot of these girls be falling real fast, and I'm just like I'm not doing anything
Yeah.
special for you to be
I'm just
on me
being
this hard.
nice,
I'm
you
just
know?
being I'm just
If
being
this
a good
all
dude.
it takes,
Yeah.
I don't even know if I really
Exactly. Like I haven't really dropped no money on you. I haven't really told you like you was beautiful X, Y, and Z, but just me just treating them like somebody is giving me a lot of positive reaction.
Yeah, and that's a lot of the battle with, you know, finding a woman is being nice. And I think it goes to what you were just saying about when those women were younger, the asshole guy, which was probably me at some point, the asshole guy is more attractive for some reason. But as these women have gotten older, they just want someone to be nice to them. You know, just be nice to me. And like you said, I could see how that could be off-putting for the adult man like yourself who is, I'm being nice because I'm a decent person. I'm not, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
like I'm not trying to
Yeah, I'm not being nice to have sex with you.
exactly. And then
Yeah.
like and that gets me even more action, you know.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
to me, it's just like, all right, I'm just kind of concerned because I feel like a lot of people do settle, and I think me coming from a house full of women, I'm just like, I don't really want to be with somebody who I think is settling. So that's kind of like my problem with some girls, where it's just like, yo, I feel like you kind of settling, or it's like, you know, when I was smoking weed, I've been 40 days clean so far.
That's
So
good.
so,
That's
so
great, bro.
I've been taking a break.
I love
Literally,
that. For real.
mom was the one that got me kind of kickstarted with that. So I've been good. But like, you know, when I was smoking, I would be with girls. I would be like, oh, I don't want to mess with dudes who smoke weed, but I mess with them. They'd be like, oh, I'll date you though. Whereas like, I don't want to feel like you settling because I'm not
settling.
going to settle. You know,
Yeah.
I want to make sure that you actually say what you want and know what you want. Because to me, that kind of what attracts me. Like, I want somebody that's like my mom, but I want somebody to be more like, yo, but I have these standards too. Like I think my
Right.
mom's standard was just like, yo, my dad's attractive. You know what I'm saying? You know, he looks like the tough guy on the block. My dad was a bad boy, pretty
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
So that's kind of what her fascination was with it. But for me, it's just like, if I want to be with somebody, I kind of want it to be equally yoked. But is it ever really equally yoked?
Hey, I don't think it ever really is. Not truly. I just can't imagine or even think of something outside of like a fairy tale to where that's true in the real world. And I'll give you this, Travon. The reason I try to be careful about what I say when it comes to relationships, because I know that my relationship, my marriage, my family dynamic, you know, my unit, I didn't plan it, but that shit worked out perfectly. You know what I mean? I met my wife, and obviously I didn't know she was my wife, but I was at the University of Mississippi, which is where I attended school, college, and she was a freshman, and I was in my sophomore year. And she came, and we were actually introduced through a mutual friend. He was her friend in high school, and I met him in college freshman year. Me and him had freshman year together. So we were sophomores. She came in to the University of Mississippi, her freshman year, and he said, this is my friend from high school with group. And, we were just casual, you know what I mean, hanging around. And we went for maybe 3 years or so, just being friends. Like I said, I moved and left and went to Dallas a couple times, and actually went back to St. Louis once, and we would text here and there. And I even remember times where I would be dealing with a little fling, right? And she would text me like, "Hey, what you doing?" And I'd text her, like, "I'm with my girl," but I'm really not, because I didn't know she was gonna be my wife. And she actually, this was 2014. She texted me and she said, "Hey, what you doing?" I said, "Nothing, I'm sitting in my car." And I was actually in Dallas, and directly across the street from the University of Texas at Dallas, which is on Campbell Road in Richardson. And she calls me. After she texts me, she calls me, and she was like, "Hey, I want to do something serious with you." And I said, "I don't know about that. Like, I'm really chilling. I'm single. I'm in Dallas. I'm young. I get 3 checks a month. I was working a commission job and getting hourly pay and getting a bonus check, and I'm really kicking it. Like, I'm really kicking it. I bought me a Benz off the lot, no cosigner, and I'm really enjoying life. I'm a young Black man in Dallas kicking it. And here you are calling me about doing something serious." And I say, "Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna be able to do it." She was like, "But I know that you feel how I feel." And I was like, "I feel that." But I said, "You know what? Give me 2 months." And she said, "2 months?" She said, "You can't put time on something like this." And I said, "Well, I don't want it." And she said, "Okay." We hung up. About 2 weeks go by. I just could not get her off my mind. I called her back. I said, "Hey, let's do it." I was in a space at that time where, with my mom, because my mom lived in Dallas too. We stayed in 2 different places, but I was trying to cultivate a healthier relationship with my mom. But my mom, she's been troubled in a lot of ways, and she had a lot of growing to do back then too. And then I realized, man, like, I can't spend my life trying to, my mom she can't carry children for me, or we can't build a life together. You know what I mean? And throughout this time, my wife was still in college at Ole Miss, and I was in Dallas. And it rolls around. This was 2014. It rolls around to May 2015, and my wife had never really been outside of Mississippi like that. And she was like, anything outside of a 2-lane highway, she was scared to drive on it. And she called. She said, "Hey, I got a scholarship to go to finish out at University of Mississippi Medical Center in Jackson, Mississippi. I don't think I'm gonna do it." I said, "You don't think you're gonna do it?" Now, mind you, we're just boyfriend, girlfriend, and we're really distant, long distance type shit. So it's only so much commitment there. You know what I mean? And I really felt like that she was going to do something that she was going to regret, or by not doing something, by, the inaction of not chasing what it is you need to be chasing. And like I said, at that same time, I'm having the realization, like, this relationship with my mom, it's going to be what it's going to be. And, hopefully it can grow, but this ain't my wife. This ain't my girl, my future wife. It's not my, and we ended up moving in together August 1st, 2015, which is my birthday. A month later, she's pregnant with my son. And so we're living in Jackson. And from that point on, Trav, like I said, this is why I kind of tiptoe around it, because I know that it's probably such a low percentage of people that get together at a young age like me and her did, and have a child out of wedlock like me and her did, and have all these other outside factors going on, and to remain together, whether it be whatever the reason was, whether I stayed because she had my son, or whether she stayed because she wanted some type of stability while she was still in school, whatever that was, or if you want to say, I was so in love, I just didn't want to leave you. Whatever it was, I wasn't in true control of that. I wasn't completely cognizant of, like, oh, I'm doing this for this, so when I get to 32 years old. I'll have my boy and my girl and my wife, and all of my kids are by the same woman, and she's only had kids by me. I'd be lying if I tell you that I planned it all out. But the shit worked out perfectly, bro.
Going off of that, I want to give free game to women out there. She respected the fact that you like gave me 2 months. I mean, she was kind of upset about it, but eventually she gave you your space.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that women know that don't put a time limit on love. Like if you put a time limit on love with men, it makes us anxious, make us double think things. I had and it's not me, and I'm not gonna say their names, but I had a group of friends in college. One girl, one dude. I was cool with both of them, and like the one dude, he was pretty popping in college, having his way.
Yeah.
And I used to be like, damn man, you got a good. I mean, I'm that friend to be like, you got a good girl. Like, what you doing? They be like, shut up, Traven. Like, nobody want to hear that right now. So I was real cool with her because she would do a lot of stuff for his friends. Just to help us out. And I know like his senior year, she was like, you know what? I know you're doing your thing. They had a kid during this time as well. I know you're doing your thing, but I'm gonna give you a semester to have your fun. But if you're not back by the end of the semester, I can't promise you I'm gonna be here. My boy did his thing.
Right.
At the end of that semester, he was right back there. Because sometimes you have to let a guy get his shit out a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I know that sounds immature, but when a guy knows that you're serious and that you actually will allow him some space to grow, it's amazing how fast we'll come back. And that's one thing I was talking to my sister about because I'm the type of person, I don't like seeing like these girls I'm dating, like I don't like seeing them every day. Like some of them want to see me every single day. And for me, it's almost like make me miss you a little bit. Like, like I'll come back, but if I feel like I am the seat of the power and like you're needy, I feel like, you know what, then I can just do whatever to you.
Yep.
But if you show me like, yo, you can do this for so long and I know my worth, then that makes me reevaluate things a little bit better. So I think whenever like women do give me or men space, I think that's the best way to go because she's talking about you can't put time on it. I mean, you can't, but you got to let me get some of my mindset or my insecurities out. Because all of us guys, we all second guess ourselves. But when we make a decision, we make a decision.
Yep.
And that's the biggest difference between men and women. I feel like, men are around to make that final decision, whether it's hard or not.
Like you said, when we decide on something, we accept whatever consequence or, however that plays out on the backside. And, I could definitely say that through my wife and even women before, it's like there is that, that hesitancy or that second guess that we all have. But like you say, typically with men, it's like, hey, this is what I'm doing and I'm doing it. And then it could blow up on the back end and the proper men, they'll be able to accept it, and keep on rolling. So I definitely agree. Whereas, like I said, women, it's kind of like, well, what if this happened? Well, what if that happens? And it's like, well, I kind of accounted for all of that, and I've accepted that if that happens, I'm all right with that.
All right, so my last question.
What you got?
Do you know what make you happy? Not what makes your family happy, not what make your friends happy. What make you happy as a man?
Honestly, man, what makes me happy, like truly makes me happy on a day-to-day basis, is my kids, And my wife, when she sees this, she might feel a little slighted, but she knows my heart. And she does her best to make sure that I'm happy. But I tell her often that it's not really your job. I get that you could do things that make me feel good, you know what I'm saying? But the happiness that I get from my children is something that it's hard to even put into words because it's not something that they're even aware that they're doing. It's not something that they try to calculate in their head or I'm gonna do this for dad because I know he like it. Or I'm gonna do, which is, what, an adult woman, she knows what you like. She knows that you like this to eat or, you like your clothes folded this type of way. And those things give me, they do produce those things within us that make us happy, to make us look and see when we come in and see the food that we like. And it's like, I was thinking, that's what I was thinking I wanted to eat today. And you knew it, good job. But if I were to, wake up tomorrow and my wife didn't want me, I could get past it. I could still find a way to be happy. Right?
Okay.
But if I woke up tomorrow and my kids told me, hey, Dad, I'm good. I don't want you to be my dad no more. It would be hard to see myself being happy from that day forward. So what makes me happy now, today, and obviously that hasn't always been my answer because I haven't always had kids. And I haven't always been a man. But as a man today, what makes me happy on a daily basis is waking up, nearly every day around the same time in between 5 and 5:45 a.m. And, talking to my son and getting him ready, for school, or more so watching him get ready and watching him progress as a young man and the things that he asks me that are, thought producing. And it makes me actually have to think about my response to a 9-year-old. It lets me know that I'm doing something right. Or when my daughter sees me and says, hey, Dad, like literally, Trav, hey, Dad, you happy? I'm like, I am happy, baby, And so, yeah, I would definitely say my kids. And that's like I said, I haven't always had kids. I haven't always been a man. But today, as a man with children, my kids make me happy. And, I don't have those kids, obviously, without their mother. And so she definitely contributes to that happiness.
I have a hot take, but I got a question I got to do before the hot take.
Mm-hmm.
You got to decide. Both hanging off a cliff, your wife or your kids.
Who would I save?
Mm-hmm.
I definitely probably save my kids. And yeah, I would save my kids. And here's why I say that. If it were reverse and I'm hanging off a cliff and my kids are, I would want my wife to save my kids.
All right, so that's my hot take right there. You know what I noticed about men and women?
What's up?
Men will save the husband and not the kids. And men will save the kids and not the wife. And I'm a firm believer in that because I can't say every man's the same. Because, some people are very religious guys. They say you got to your wife, then your kids first. But the only people I think my dad ever loved was his kids. I don't think he loved his mom. Let me phrase it. I think my dad loved his dad and he loved his kids. But I don't think he ever really loved his siblings like that. He said they used to get on his nerves. I mean, he respected his mom, but I don't think he had like love like that. Mm-hmm. And my mom, I think he just loved what she did. You know what I'm saying? I don't think she really loved her as a person. But like when my dad talked to me, he lights up.
Yeah.
Every time. Like, and it's one of those things where it's just like, no matter what I seen or heard my dad do to my mom, my mom always used to be like, you can't get mad at your dad because how he treats you. And it took me to be a man to be like, oh, like, this is my friend. And me talking to my dad, like, I can just hear like his day is just goes up. The same when it comes to my sisters and my nieces and nephews and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It was almost like a man offspring is like what they really love.
Yeah.
And I feel like women, they feel like they can make another. I'll give a clear example. I don't know whether you go to the movies a lot, but I just saw One Battle After Another with Leonardo DiCaprio and Tiana Taylor.
Okay.
Quick thing, pretty much these freedom fighters trying to fight for people who are affected by ICE and different things like that. But Tiana Taylor, she's pretty much is like the head BIC in charge. So she's the head chick in charge pretty much. Mm-hmm. But she more is in love with the thrill more than the fight in a way. So pretty much one of the dudes she had a baby with, like she was telling him like, yo, I'm not a mom, I'm a freedom fighter. Like you got to take care of this kid. But in between there, she was jealous of the love that dad was showing to the daughter the whole time. Like she's calling her friends saying, yo, he loved the baby more than me. Like I can't do this no more. Like I'm supposed to be the only woman in his life. And like, I don't know whether that's postpartum. I can't really explain what women go through. But I really do feel like sometimes when a woman see a man love their kids more than them, they are really affected. Whereas a man, when we see our wife love our kid more, we don't really care. We don't trip. Yeah. We like, yo, like that's not what I'm supposed to be.
I've seen that firsthand with my wife and my daughter, where literally my wife we could be sitting on the couch watching TV, my daughter would come and like slip in between, like, hey, what, and get right up on me, scoot in between her and be like, hey, like it's my dad. And I've seen my wife to where, my daughter, her name is Ayla, where me and Ayla will be chilling and she might be watching her iPad laid up under my shoulder and I'm watching football. And my wife is like, yo, get off my man. You know what I mean? And it's playful, but
It's a little bit behind there.
yeah, you know what I mean? Like, you mean that low key, especially when it's a thing. Like, it's real. It's not like you just playing around and it's just a joke out of thin air. Like, no, this is a real thing. So I've definitely seen that firsthand, to where the woman can be jealous of the female child, because of that bond between dad and daughter, and it's like, well, you don't look at me like that. You don't have that twinkle in your eye every time you see me, the way every time. And I'll say every single day, Trav, every day of my daughter's life, when I come in the house, her reaction to me is like it's her first time seeing me. Daddy, hey daddy, like, I can't, but like, she almost can't believe I'm here every single day. And, whereas, when you're an adult woman, which is, I understand it, you're a grown woman, so that it's not going to be the same. But when I come in, depending on how your days went, it might be just a hey, or you might be like, hey, can you watch them? I'm finna go get in the shower. I'm tired. You know what I mean? And so I understand that, but yeah, that daddy-daughter bond can definitely have an effect on the wife or the woman of the house.
Cause I saw a Vine video. This little girl asked her dad for a kiss, and like she was side eyeing the shit out the mom. So I can get it. You know what I'm saying? But part of me is also like, this is a kid. You my wife. You should know that I don't have to baby you. Like, this is somebody I'm rearing up. Whereas some women, more emotional creatures. Like I said, women are emotional, men are more logical. You might get some logical women here and there, but in our true nature, it's
That's
not
the word I was
that.
going to use.
In our nature, like, we're not set up that way. And to me, it's just so interesting hearing some stories from people I know, seeing it in the media. I'm just like, there is such a thing, like, as these moms beefing with the daughters a little bit.
Yeah, and even so, like my son, obviously he was born first, so my son would treat my wife the same way my daughter treats me.
That's how I was with my mom. Right. I thought, and that's so weird, because I'm thinking I'm filling in the gas my dad's not filling in, but at the end of the day, I can see that my mom. Well, I realized as a man, it's just like, but you're not my man. I want my man to do these things.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, I think I'm doing all this stuff, like, saying like sweet things. I call her beautiful every day. I remember one time she like, why you call me beautiful every day? I'm like, what do you mean? I think you're beautiful, Mom. She was just like, just don't say. It was just one day out of like a 1,000 days, but I think that one day is just like, damn, like, you're kind of reminding me of what my husband is not doing on a daily basis.
Right.
And, it take you to get older to start realizing what life is. Cause, I didn't know what was going on at 18. I was a suburban kid. I ain't gonna lie, I had a pretty, not sheltered life, but like I had a good life. You know what I'm saying? I can't really say I was like, out in the streets like that. My parents wasn't playing that stuff.
Yeah.
But to me, it was like, I always tell girls that that I dare, people that I know, is like, my mom passing away was the worst, but also one of the most enlightening days of my life. Because when she passed away at 30, I was always trying to compare women to her, where it was just like, why am I don't really want to date my mom. I want to, I want somebody, and it took me to my mom passing away to realize, like, all right, so what do I really want in a woman? Because I don't have that example here no more, to be honest. I don't like how my parents' relationship was. So for me, like, how am I going to be different? How am I going to change it from this point? And I had to start really like digging deep in myself to be like, hey, what do you really want out of these women? You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you really expect? What are you willing to give as well? And all of that came to me when mom passed away. So for me, like, before that, I felt like I was trying to heal women the way my mom was hurt, where some of these girls like, nigga, I had a dad, I don't like you don't need to heal me, kind of thing, like, you know what I'm saying? So I would get a lot of that, where it'd be like, damn, like, I'm doing stuff that I think my mom would like, whereas like some of these girls don't want that, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
They got their own vision of what a man is and what they think love is. So I had to get outside of myself. So, my mom passing away was like, the hardest day of my life, but it helped me go to the next level, actually being a man. 'Cause I think before then I was thinking like a boy.
Right. So let me ask you, Trav. you know, with us kind of being on, we're about the same age, huh?
32. Yeah.
Okay, same age. So with us being on opposite ends of the spectrum, so to speak, when it comes to the family and kids and wife and all that, what is it that you want from a woman? You know, now that you're, you got some experience under your belt with women, and
To me, I want a woman that is. This is a good question.
it's all right. Take your time, man.
To me, how I vision my woman, I want her to have an opinion but still care about mine. Like I don't want her to agree with me, but I want her to correct me and to tell me about myself when needed.
Yes, sir.
Somebody that will be that will be themselves, that is nurturing, and that has a sense of humor. That's like very bare bones of what I'm looking for.
Right.
But for me, I get with so many girls who try to change themselves or what they think I like, where or what they think a man like. Where it's just like, no, I said I like actually get to know me and let me get to know you, because I feel like it's a two-way street. And not talking about your relationship with other people, but like I have seen so many people just get together and just stay together just for convenience, because
Right.
hey, we had a baby, or hey, we got to pay our bills. And I don't want it to be that way. I want it
sure.
to be like one of the things Ryan told me when we was there that night, when I was asking him like, hey, did you marry for the kid or you married for the woman? He was like, it was very important for me to get married before I have kids, because I don't want my marriage to be circled around my kids. And when he said that to me, I was just like, yo, that is some powerful shit. Where it's just like, I want to make sure that I'm locked in with you. Like, I know it's impossible to tell your partner everything, but
Right.
I want to talk to my person about everything. Like, whether I want them to accept the ass on me, because like I'm not the goodest guy. Like
Right.
I have asshole tendencies, but I don't want to hurt people. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
I want somebody to accept me from my asshole, from my good guy, all of that, because there are different levels of trading. But I feel like sometimes the girl just fall up to level to one part of it, which is the perception of who they think I am. We're just like, nah, do you really even know
I say,
who I am?
and so, Trav, how do they get to know all, or not even all, but get more of you and understanding you more? Without, and that's why I say I tiptoe around it, because it's not like I planned everything out. But me and my wife, we've only been married 5 years, but we've been together. What are we at? 11 years now, and so there's so much that we've learned about each other, even things that if we would have known before, we wouldn't have accepted it, So how do you do that without putting that time in with one person?
Well, one, I need time. So that's the biggest thing, where it takes time. These girls want to be a girlfriend in a month.
They want to be everything at once, huh?
They want to be a wife in 6 months. To me, it's just like, let us get a slow building. Like me, I'm not even that fiend out for sex like that. Where it's just like, I'm at a point now where it's like, I'd rather we not even have sex and just build up a friendship first, because I want to know whether I really like you. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So I think me liking you was a big thing, because if I like somebody, I am going to do the best interest for the both of us. You know what I'm saying? But if I feel like I don't like you and I'm just liking how you make me feel, whether it's through sex or like that, I'm gonna just take advantage of you, walk all over you. But I think vice versa, women do the same thing.
Yep.
But I also think I have a really, and this might sound like cocky, but I really do feel like I have the gift of knowing when somebody is genuine. Like I am blessed to have a lot of genuine friends in my life, from New Jersey, from St. Louis, from Texas. Like I meet genuine people, and I have a bullshit radar. Like I know when it's performative. I know when you're not being yourself. Like I told you earlier, my boy Brandon, we did a podcast last week, and I loved it because it's like just how we talk every day on the phone. Like it's not, something that is super produced up. And I'm just like, I'm editing it, and I'm just like, I don't even have to edit it because I'm just liking how it flows.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I get people on here sometimes, and I'm just like, oh, you're just trying to put on the best version of yourself. I don't want I want to know who you really are.
Right. I would say when you initially reached out to me, I was thinking like, okay, whenever he tells me, kind of what are we gonna be talking about, in my mind, I'm thinking, all right, I'm not even so much write it down, but I'm gonna read the question and then think about what I'll say. And then once you sent me, just all the details to it about address and all that, And I saw it, and I saw what you said as well about the organicness of it. I said, and I never thought about it again. I said, I'm gonna just go in there, finish my workout, whatever. I'm just go in there and let them hit me with whatever, and we'll just let it flow from there. So I definitely have an appreciation for that, man.
And that's the best thing. Like my boy Brandon, he was just saying, like, yo, I was cursing too much. I feel like I sound like I'm like illiterate, that I'm like uneducated. I'm just like, bro, this is how people really talk.
Yeah.
I was just like, I would say your video was one of my fastest ones to hit 100. Like I got like 100 views in 2 days. Like I got other higher views ones, but it took like weeks or time. I'm like, yo, yours was one of the fastest growing videos. And I literally had people reaching out to me that we mutually know. It was like, yo, like that podcast was the one, and I felt it. Yeah. I told him, and Brandon be like, he think I be bullshit. When people like, bro, you just be talking. I'm like, no, bro. I'm like, you don't understand what your gift is. And there's certain people where just like Brandon, like Ryan and Amon, where it's just like I talk to them and it's so easy. Like it be time my sister call me, she'd be like, yo, I could tell you like that person.
Yeah.
And it's like I like all my guests, but sometimes my guests don't come on like themselves all the time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Which I understand. People have a job, people have family, people have relationships. But at the end of the day, we all people. These are conversations that need to be had. And for me, I'm a person that will ask the tough questions. I'm the person, like, depending on how you like this was a good conversation, but a lot of times I have to force being the devil's advocate. I'm just like, yo, you're not really saying what you want to say. So now I gotta be the devil's advocate.
Right. Try to pull it
out of you. Whereas like I'm saying stuff even I don't believe. Whereas that, you know, when it's people like Brandon, Ryan, Amon, and you, where it's just like, I don't have to be devil advocate. I don't have to be the adversary because you're just being yourself and you're giving a different take. Do I agree with everything my friends believe in? No, but I don't like people like that at all.
That's a problem.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't even want, I mean, people in general, but I definitely don't want men around me that are, you know, in a sense, afraid, you know, to, for whatever reason, to say whatever they're thinking or to disagree with me. Those are the type of men that I want to keep away from me because they'll have you really fucked up in the head thinking that, you know, you're on to something, all because they didn't say, yeah, bro, that don't make sense, you know? But instead tell you, yeah, bro, I feel you, bro. You know, how you thinking you're right.
And that's what I kind of want my woman as well. I want somebody to be like, that don't sound right. Like, but my thing is, I like people who also can articulate and say their points as well. Because sometimes people just be saying shit and you be like, oh, you just talking with emotion right now.
Yeah.
I'm at an age now where I'm past emotion and I'm more so about what is really going on right now and how can I really understand the other person. Like I feel like a lot of times people don't speak to understand. They speak to get their point across. I used to be that way. I used to speak just because I wanted you to just so I can either change your mind or so my point can get across. Now I'm just like, I don't really care if my point get across. I'm gonna say how I feel, but I want to understand how you feel. Where I had a podcast 3 weeks ago, my boy James Lamonte, shout out to y'all. Love them, my boys. But I had the same conversation with them about, you know, do you leave do you stay for your wife or for your kids? And I'm not saying they gave me a generic answer, but I was like, yo, it's very safe.
Yeah, safe.
And you know, I'm like, it's very safe. And it's like, you know, we talking afterwards about certain things where it's just like, hey, it don't really match up with what you was talking about. Or just like, you know, you're just, I don't know.
You're just saying shit.
You're just saying shit. And mind you, they could really believe that. But for me, it's just like, I like the thing I like about my dad is like as much as I can say, like sometimes my feelings be hurt. How you talk about my mom, he talks from a perspective where I can understand it. You know what I'm saying? And he talks like not caring about my feelings. Hey, yo, this is life.
Yep. And that's exactly how I talk to my son at 9 years old now.
Like, hey, a man bring home the money. Yeah, he gonna cheat sometimes.
Yep.
Hey, he gonna do X, Y, and Z. And I'm just like, oh, like it like shots to me. But to me, it's just like, I need those conversations because I need to get outside of my bubble. I'm not saying that he's right, or I'm wrong. But for me, it's like I think it's very ignorant for you to think that love is one way and that, you know, it's not going to get you sometimes. Because sometimes these situations might hit you when you 40, when you 50. So how are you going to go about it? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not going to always be like the honeymoon phase where I think a lot of people are, when they're in the honeymoon phase, they're like, all right, I love my girl, I love X, Y, and Z. You love her for this year. What about year 5 or 7
Yeah.
when she's not talking to you, like you said, when she's just saying every other conversation?
Straight up.
How would you react to that person? Because women change like hormonally. I can't really speak for them, but I know like postpartum, having babies, it might be a different person than you might have first met.
For sure. I think, and being there firsthand and seeing, I mean, from the beginning to the end of the pregnancy, rather, seeing a woman who is used to being, let's just say, petite, 125 pounds, 5'5", little, and their first time being pregnant and their body changing and them growing to 200 plus pounds and watching that whole process play out all the way up until literally giving birth, having a 6 to 7 pound human, some even bigger for some women, come out, out of you, and having to bounce back from that, and the conflicting feelings that you have of, I just gave birth to something, I'm in love with it already, and it just caused me so much pain, and then having to look across at the person who is
just laughing,
he's
smiling all the
laughing,
time.
you know what I mean? And so, and watching a woman go up and down and up and down, and even to getting to where she is now, just getting her body back to where she got it. And think about this, Trav. She did it one time, and then 5 years later, she did it again after she got her body together, and then put herself through it again, with the help of me, obviously. So, and that's just to speak to what you were saying about women changing hormonally, and in many other ways too, mentally, physically, with childbirth and just all of those emotions and trying to regulate them, and to skip off of that. Sometimes the changes that a woman goes through, before, after, and before, during, and after giving birth can run off certain men. And I don't want to say weak men, I think that's kind of unfair, but it will run off certain type of men, because it's like, it's crazy, bro. When really, my nigga, she's had a baby. You know what I mean? And I get it, she might be crazy right now, but she also, whether she had it vaginally or she just had her stomach cut open, bro. You know what I'm saying? And all you did was sleep on the hospital couch, you know what I mean? And just wait.
With your PS2 or whatever.
Right. And
Like,
so, I definitely, have a great deal of respect just, for women that not only give birth to their kids, to their children, but also have the internal fortitude to regulate all those emotions and still be a good person to those kids, and be a good person to themselves, because a lot of women don't, whether it's harming the kids or harming themselves or giving the kids up for adoption or a whole range of shit that, shitty women do sometimes. So
like, I give my mom a lot of grace because like she wasn't like abusive, but she had like a little mouth on her. We'd be like, damn, that kind of hurt a little bit, mom. But being 32, working, coming home, stressed out from people, like shit, I be having a lot of fucked up things in my mind to say too. So for me, when I look back on it, I give my mom so much grace because at the end of the day, she gave us so much love, and same for my dad. You know what I'm saying? I give him a lot more grace being a grown man now, and it's like you don't really know until you get older. So I'm gonna end it right here though, because we get into that point
for sure.
But is there any last words you want to say before I let you go?
You know what? I want to give a shout out to my wife because she knows me so well, and she knows my views and how I think about things, and she told me once you go in there, make sure you let them know you love your wife. She kind of said that on my way out the door. So if I had to part with anything, man, I would just want to give a shout out to my wife for being an amazing partner while being a great mother, and also being a career and degree woman, and somehow finding time to also be a great wife to me. So shout out to my wife, man. I think that's what I'll end with.
Man, that's all love. It's your boy Trader Realist. Remember to love your wife.
Love your wife, man.
And love the ones that love you. We out.
Yes, sir.
Peace. Thank you for watching the video. If you like what you saw, please subscribe, like, comment, and share. We have similar videos above. For exclusive content, please follow our Patreon, which is patreon.com/BearviewMedia. See you next time. Peace.